Hi everyone, been a minute or two. I'm here in beautiful Wanaka, New Zealand, which might be a surprise given that this video is about a California road trip, but all things considered, I'm a bit behind. We'll get to the New Zealand portion in a few weeks, but for now we're just going to focus on California. After ditching Canada at the beginning of February, we had scheduled a road trip to meet up with some friends in California over the course of 5 days. So despite receiving daily updates on what kind of tariffs would or wouldn't be inflicted upon our country this time, I was as ready as ever to take some photos and possibly work on a little video. Who knows? 3 years ago now, we drove up Highway 1 for the first time, which was one of the most beautiful things I had ever seen. I had made a point of prioritizing photographing the coast at some point, as I just found it mesmerizing, and it was something completely different to the, I guess, grayness of Ontario. Also, I wasn't sure when the next time we would be back in the US due to multiple reasons. On day one, we headed out to Big Sur after I borrowed a hot rod red Dodge Challenger from the very nice Enterprise employee. We made it maybe 5 minutes into the Monterey area before I snapped my first photo of the trip. And it sucks. I was working with a 90mm f2, which is a fantastic lens for portraits and for a lot of the concert photography that I do. The photo's fine, but I don't know, nothing special. This shot, however, is extremely cool. I love all the negative space. You can just barely see the plane passing over, and I like that only one person in the frame seems to be paying attention to it. It's almost like they're directing what's going to happen next. Shot 2 is also very cool, but unfortunately there's just too much happening in the scene, and I think that the suit jacket man just gets lost. What I do love about this shot, however, is that it was a film shot, and I think that makes it just a bit more impressive to me. I believe I was shooting Portra 400 for this first bit of the trip. We then paraded ourselves out to Battery Spencer for sunset. Yeah, real original. Golden hour at the Golden Gate. Nobody's ever thought of that one before. Luckily, some other tourists had the same idea, and I was able to pop out a couple of photos on Portra 400. They're both a little heavy on the teal tones and the contrast, but I didn't really care enough to correct it, and I kind of liked the vibe that they were giving off. We spent a while just hanging around to get a few more film shots as I watched my bank account quickly empty itself for each shot of Portra that I went through. Both shots here are pretty good, but I especially like the one of the man hidden in the bunker. After trying to act all cinematic, we finally headed out and got settled in to begin our trek the next day to Sequoia National Forest. The weather had been projecting a little bit of rain, however, we were also warned about a possible heavy snowfall warning at the top of Sequoia and where we were going. Specifically at the General Sherman tree. After gaslighting ourselves and saying it won't be that bad, it's not Canada after all, we should be fine, we grabbed some coffee and started our 3-hour drive, naturally stopping to grab a picture of the sign. Nothing special to see here, I just thought it was cool. We arrived at the gates to the park and reached stage 2 of Fuck Around, which, as we all know, is Find Out, and we're told if we didn't have chains then no one was coming to save us. But following the rules is for nerds, and so we kept going anyways. After risking our lives, we speed ran the area around the General Grant tree, snapped some photos, and took off. The film camera stayed in the car, but I was able to grab a few shots that I thought were at least okay. I'd guess that we probably had about 20 to 30 minutes before we were officially stuck inside of the park and would have had to be rescued. Stupid tourists. So I'm lucky that we got out when we did. After staying the night in Bakersfield, California, also known as God's country to absolutely no one, we continued driving all the way to Joshua Tree National Park the next day. I didn't really know about the park, but what I did know was that the only reason it was popular is because U2 discovered it from Bono's epic solo adventure into the wilderness in 1987, and that's the only reason that anybody actually knew about it. True story. I think that some of the film shots here were certainly up there with the best that I've taken, at least on film. Shot number 1, just outside of the park, is absolutely gorgeous. I love the blue and orange tones and the rusted car. It was perfection. It was a pretty strong start. But where I really think I nailed it was on the second shot, just inside the park. It was my last shot of the roll, and I would put this in my top 5 shots I've ever taken, which is convenient because I only have 5 good photos and 4 of them are in this video. I couldn't really pick between my favorites of these next 3, so I included all 3. The first 2 were on the Fuji digital, and the last one was on film. Of the 3, I think that the film probably wins once again. As I mentioned before, I wasn't particularly sure what to expect from Joshua Tree, but I was genuinely impressed by what I saw. The landscapes here were absolutely astounding, and I don't think that it gets enough credit for the entirety of the park. The trees themselves are definitely cool, but the park is much more than that. I believe that some of my favorite photos were taken during this day trip. I was unbelievably stoked about it. God, that's fucking beautiful. After breaking into the JW Marriott Palm Springs, I decided to get up a little bit early in the morning, walk around, and bother the flamingos. For legal reasons, we were paying customers and stayed here, draining our bank accounts, but we did pay. I snapped some photos on the X-H2s that I loved and then popped out a few on film before the staff discovered that I was poor and subsequently kicked us out of the resort. We then headed off to our second last destination, which was San Diego, where I proceeded to eat the best Mexican food I've ever had before nerding out over the number of boats in the harbor. San Diego was pretty chill all in all, and we didn't spend too much time there. But it was beautiful, and I really enjoyed the sunset, watching the boats go by, and seeing the aircraft carrier that would probably inevitably be used to invade us at some point. Our final day, however, saw the mystery gang heading out to Los Angeles to explore the Getty Museum before hopping on our various flights out of California. I loaded in a roll of Cinestill XX film, specifically for the Getty, knowing that the architecture alone is something that photographers will go to the Getty to see. Shot number 1 is pretty good, but I found it to be a bit busy. Shot number 2, on the other hand, had me very excited for what was ahead. I would have liked to find a bit more negative space here, as again, it feels a bit busy, but I would find that in the next few shots with a lot of negative space. These next 2 photos are possibly the best photos that I've taken on film, in my opinion. I love the framing, I love the negative space, and I love the textures. The thing about the XX film is that it is very gritty, and I believe I was only shooting it 1 stop pushed, so shooting it at 800 instead of 400. All around, these were just phenomenal, and I'm a big fan of them. Are they perfect? No, but I was satisfied with the results. After these shots, Allison decided to steal my XS20 to run around and take photos of flowers, and refused to give the camera back. But we now return to our regularly scheduled Allison vision, who continued to go rogue and run away with my camera.
Sorry about the last one. I did it wrong. Oh, fuck. Hold on. Don't touch the shutter. Whatever. Do what I want.
I took a few more shots at the Getty, and after polishing off the roll, came away with 3 more photos that I absolutely love. Again, nothing new, nothing groundbreaking here, but just a big fan and happy that I was able to pull them off. Before heading to the airport, we quickly ran down to Santa Monica Pier as a rite of passage, and I grabbed a couple shots with the XS20 and the 27mm Voigtlander pancake lens I'd picked up at the start of the trip. I wasn't quite sure if a manual lens would be perfect for me or not, but it ends up being something with a lot of character and a very sharp lens for what it is. But before we knew it, the US government was kicking us out of the country for trying to impose reverse tariffs every single time we paid for food, and so we were quickly escorted to the airport and onto our flights. Again, for legal reasons, that was a joke, I think. I don't really remember.
Bye, Hassan.
Okay.
After saying goodbye, we dropped off our bags and prepared for our next adventure across the ocean. California is such a beautiful place, and I think it's something that when you're an outsider, you appreciate it maybe a little bit more than the people that are from California. Even those who have been living there for a few years seem almost disillusioned with it. But when you're a tourist, it's this land of possibility and so many different landscapes. You can experience all 4 seasons in the course of a couple days. It's just pure beauty every single time. Except Bakersfield. I came away with some of my favorite images on this trip that I've ever taken, and I think it was a great setup for our next adventure in New Zealand. I felt prepared, I felt in the zone, and I had taken more photos than I could possibly count and spent more money on film than I could possibly afford. So that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun to make this one, and thanks to my friends for agreeing to be a part of it. Hopefully. Should probably ask them if they're okay with being on video. If you want to see more photos, please check out my website, deadair.ca. That's deadair.ca. And you can also find me on Photo, which is a new app, Photo, and Instagram at deadairlive. I might do something a little bit different for the next video. I don't really know. I'm trying to rethink my goal with all of this and what the point of everything that I'm doing is. But we'll see. I'm not really too sure yet. And if you're wondering why I've been holding a tiny microphone this entire time, it's because I can't trust the one that's on my camera, even though I spent $500 on it. And the clip for this one broke. So my options are quite limited. On account of the next video being filmed in the Southern Hemisphere, it will be shot entirely upside down. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. Or a heads down. Your pick.